Hello, I'm Marc Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have Joel Chimoindes, the CEO of Nuvias, in the studio. How are we doing, Joel?
I'm fantastic, and thanks for having me, Marc.
No.
Listen, congratulations on a fantastic podcast series as well. I'm delighted to be here.
Thanks for coming in, Joel. Now, Joel, I'm going to get a bit personal straight away with my first question, because Chimoindes, very unusual surname. Where does that originate from?
Lots of people ask, obviously. It's Greek Cypriot. It was originally pronounced Chimoindes, which is actually quite a common Greek Cypriot name. When my grandparents came over to the UK after the war, as they came through to have their forms completed, they couldn't speak or spell English, and someone spelt the name wrong. It became anglicised and it became Chimoindes. So there's lots of Chimoindes, but there's only a few Chimoindes.
When I normally get a person in the studio, I look through their LinkedIn profile, and I want to take you back to the beginning, because your first gig was in IT support.
That's right.
So what pulled you to sort of go into technical?
I was living up in Manchester at the time. I grew up in Norfolk, went to university in Manchester in the 90s, and studied computers and psychology. Not particularly well, I must point out. So I've always been of technical orientation, right? Absolutely, and technical, even still today as well. So I joined Imago, I think in the mid-90s, 1995, as tech support. And at the time, it was all around multimedia, right? We were supporting monitors with graphics on the side and that cost thousands of pounds, and projectors that had 3 great big lenses in them for the imagery. And that's how I started off, and our office was next door to the Hacienda nightclub in Manchester. You couldn't hear yourself on the phones because of bands practicing not only in the Hacienda but actually on the roof of the Hacienda.
Wow!
So at times we couldn't hear customers on the phones as well. So it was my first job in IT. It was a real experience to kind of have that. So
let's move on a bit, because then you made the transition to go into sales. So was that always the plan, or what made you make the transition?
Yeah, I think it's because the organisation Imago was very much a technical sales organisation. You know, it was an organisation where you needed to know about your products, right? So it wasn't just, can you call and give a SKU number and customers place the orders. Because of the technology we were selling at the time, you really needed to know. And so for me, it became very natural to kind of go to be a technical salesperson. And that's kind of how it evolved from there. So I don't think I ever kind of lost the technical side of it and understanding the solution side of things and how things work together. I could just then combine that with, actually, I really enjoy selling and earning some good money from it as well. So it felt very natural. What
do you think's harder, Joel? A techie trying to sell, or a salesperson who doesn't know technical? What's better?
That's a fantastic question. Listen, it depends on the role they're in, right? So I think it's always harder for salespeople to be technical if they're not, and that is something that's very topical today, right? As you know, in my own organisation, we're asking a lot of our salespeople, because we sell complex solutions. And if you're technically orientated, that's kind of okay. But if you're not, that's quite difficult to absorb all of that information to then share it in a constructive way with people. What's
your preference? If you hire people, do you prefer them to have a technical slant and sales ability, or pure sales ability, and you'll compensate for them maybe not so technical?
My preference is we hire for people that's got a slight technical slant.
Right.
All right. So because
from your background.
Yeah, I know, and because
that's biased.
No, I knew. Do you know? I walked into that. I walked into it. No, and the reason being is I do believe with our customers and our partners, that's the value we can start to add. So I don't need every sales guy to be a deep technical expert, thankfully, but I do like them to understand the solutions that we sell, right? Because what we sell is complex, as I say. So
let's move on with your career, Joel, because I noticed that after you left Aslan, you went to Beta, and that was with Steve Soper and those guys. What happened there? What did you take from that experience? Because I know they're no longer around now, but what did you take from that experience personally?
So when I was at TD beforehand, Aslan, fantastic business, worked with some wonderful people. And I had an idea that I wanted to try and get off the ground myself. And I thought, I'm probably not going to be able to get this off the ground in an organisation as big as Tech Data. So I then went and set up a business called Beta Distribution, Beta DMS, under Beta Distribution with Steve Soper. And that was a business that kind of ran independently, Beta DMS, and our premise was all around how do we sell services around digital signage to channel partners for them to be able to sell on as well. So example, we had partners who were fitting out Liverpool Football Club, Anfield, with all new displays, and we provided all the content services to the reseller for them to be able to sell that on to Anfield, which was particularly difficult as a diehard Arsenal fan. But it was a great case study. To answer your question, what did I take from the experience? You've got to imagine I'd worked in a large corporate organisation like TD, and then went into a very smaller environment, which was more nimble, it was more agile, but it also didn't have the safety nets that you have in such a large corporate as well. And also, what I also learned is as we were onboarding and partnering with new vendors, some of that, in all honesty, Mark, was really tough to do because you're looking to displace some existing relationships that already existed in the channel. And some of those we won and some of those we lost. And, you know, I learned a lot in quite a short amount of time on how to run a business, and because I'd never really done that myself before as well.
Was there ever a time, Joel, where you thought, do you know what? I'm going to start my own business. I'm actually going to do it myself now. Because that experience, when you've gone through that and it potentially it's not gone the way you wanted to, but those skills, those entrepreneur skills have had to have come up. So was there ever a thought process, maybe I'll do it myself?
A little bit, but the reason not, Mark, in all honesty, is because I grew up in an environment where my father previously always ran his own businesses, and that put certain stresses and strains on the family as we grew up, right? And so, perhaps it's deep and psychological, right? But I always decided that probably not in my early years would I do that. Maybe later in my career, that might be something that I'll do then.
So the pull, what was the pull back to sort of go to TD? So what was different second time around?
Yeah, so there's a guy called John Sidwick who, a good friend of mine, he was my mentor, I still call him today. And John ran Maverick inside Tech Data, a very successful AV and UC business. And John had said he had plans inside his business for what he wanted to do. He said, I really need a European commercial director. Why don't you come and do that role for me? And then as John then moved on to take Maverick global, I then ran Maverick across Europe for about 5.5 years. The pull was two things. One, obviously, it was an attractive role. It was exciting vendors, but actually working with someone like John, who is someone that is, you come across people, everyone says they know unique people, right? I believe John's fairly unique. And he was challenging, he was demanding, he's creative. The cliche about think outside the box, with John there is no box. And I just learned so much, and I knew I would as well. I knew I would. So I benefited massively from that. And also there was a great team as well. We had to make some adjustments as you normally do, but I was going into a great business with a great team, albeit it had its challenges. We were very strong with Microsoft Surface Hub at the time, and Microsoft decided to kill off the Surface Hub, and we really had to make sure that we helped the business thrive in those difficult periods. So, but it was great. It was a great business, a fabulous business, great people, and I was very lucky to work with some superb people there.
Joel, this bring you right up to date.
Yeah.
Nuvias UC.
Yes.
You as the CEO.
Yes.
How did you get that gig? And what have you learned from having that top job? Because there's not many people that are going to think, I'm starting in tech support and I'm going to end up being a CEO. So how did you get the job?
I hit a milestone of an age 2 years ago. And before that, my wife and I had kind of gone through, what do we want to do, right? What do we want to do next? What does the career path look like? Both, but also what does our personal lives look like as well? And I made a list out of the things that I wanted next. And then shortly after I'd made that list, I was approached by the Rigby Group, who are the owners of Nuvias UC, to say that they were looking for a new chief exec for the business, and is that something that I would be interested in exploring? And of course, this ticked the majority of the list that I'd made. And I'm not a massive believer in fate or anything like that, but the opportunity presented itself. So, excuse me. I then went off and spent plenty of time with the Rigby Group, a gentleman called John Taylor, who's the chairman, Steve Rigby, and really got to understand not just Nuvias UC, but actually got to understand the Rigby Group, and found them to be a fabulously impressive family owned, as you know, celebrating a big milestone this year of 40 odd years in business. And I found that the business was very, very attractive. It was in a sector that I knew around collaboration. It needed some work doing, right? And I think that was fairly obvious. And I liked the idea of that. But I also, what was really appealing, Mark, is the autonomy, you know? So to go into an organisation, have the autonomy to do what I would like to do. I have the philosophy that always surround yourself with people that are cleverer than you, right? So get into the organisation and do that, and then really start to, and I knew I would learn a lot from it as well.
Why do you think they approached you, Joel? And I say that because as a recruiter, when I'm looking on profiles, I'm either looking, have they done a CEO role before, or is it a natural progression? In fact, if I do get a CEO gig, I normally, without making it too obvious, do a search and think, the previous CEOs, have they actually done the role before? One, how did you get the confidence to do it? But what do you think why did they sort of target you, do you think?
I think there was a couple of reasons. One was the beta DMS project stood out as something that I could step out of corporate life and go and try something that is more difficult, more challenging, more rewarding, more agile. And I think that kind of stood out. I question, if I hadn't done that, whether I would have been approached in the way that I was. I think the second thing was as well is that we'd made a great success of Maverick, you know, and Maverick had grown to be such a substantial business across Europe, and we'd grown it and taken it in different directions, and it was very successful in the collaboration space as well. And I think it was those things, Mark, as well.
One of the things that I noticed you did quite early was restructure the exec team. What was the driving decision for that?
Yeah, I mean, the previous exec team was there, had obviously taken the business, you know, as far as they could and did a good job. The business experienced great growth during COVID. But as people came out of COVID and the collaboration business started to slow down generally in the UK, the business needed a different direction. And so therefore we needed different people to think in different ways to come into the organisation to be able to do that. So I needed to bring in some people who thought in that way, could recognise our direction of travel and then how to help us kind of get there as well. So, you know, we brought in a new CFO, Gwyn Hicks, who's been fantastic. We brought in a COO, a guy called Mike Curtis, who was at Beckler and Softcat, and Wayne Grattan joined us as Chief Commercial Officer. And all of these individuals have all brought different qualities to help us achieve the strategy that we need at Nuvias UC. And as I said previously, you surround yourself with people cleverer than you, right? So,
what would you say for any aspiring CEOs out there, Joel, that are going into a role for the first time, like you did? You know, what sort of hard decisions comes up? What's the toughest bit of the job? Because some people will think, oh, CEO job, they're at the top of the food chain, they're just directing everyone else. But what do you think is the hardest bit of the job?
I'm in contact with a couple of people I know who are also in their first chief exec jobs. And it's great to talk to them because we bounce ideas off each other. And I think universally, one of the things that people say is that if you had, you know, looking back over my last couple of years, or I was talking to someone just yesterday who's been in the role for a whole year, for his first year, the point is, you know, you always regret the decisions that you didn't make quicker and faster, right? And so you make some brutal decisions, and that's what you have to do, right, in order to move the organisation forward. But sometimes there's decisions that you could have made quicker and faster, be it around structure, resources, partnerships, you know, customers, what strategy, whatever it may be. And I think that's the thing, which is, you know, make the decisions fast is a key learning for me, without a doubt.
Have you had to sort of change your mindset around making decisions like that? Because there'll be people out there listening thinking, how would Joel, or how does a CEO make a decision? Because you can't sit on these decisions forever.
No,
it doesn't move the business. So how do you actually get to a point where you think, yeah, I'm confident in this decision? So your own thought process with it.
I take counsel from the people around me, right? And I think that's really important. If there's something I'm not certain on, right, and as I say, there's people with better knowledge than me, I'll absolutely take the counsel from those people, and then we make a decision, and then we stick to it, and then we go for it. And you know, there's only one thing worse than making a bad decision, and that's making no decision.
Absolutely.
Right? So the fail fast mentality is super important, and that whole premise about if you get something wrong, actually it's okay. as long as it's not massively detrimental, to people or the business, and that you learn from it. And I think that's a mentality that we absolutely have to have, that fail fast mentality.
I know you've been a big champion of AI adoption inside Nuvias. How's that journey going? What stuff are you doing internally around AI?
Well, listen, we're early stages, right? But we're learning, and again, fail fast, right? So if you think of us, we're 120 people spread across 4 countries, and driving effectiveness and efficiency and productivity in our business is really, really important to what we do. Like all businesses, you want to be more effective, right? And we believe that AI is just one way that can help us do that. So specifically, some of the things that we've done, and we're starting off small, Mark, right? We're looking at each part of the business, we're getting the leaders to do it, and coming up with ideas that we can do, and then actually we're sharing those with our customers and with our vendors, showing what we do. So as an example, our pre-sales team, the frustration of pre-sales teams normally is that they keep getting asked questions by salespeople, coming back to your first question, getting asked questions by salespeople, which they think that the salespeople should know themselves. So what we have is pre-sales answering questions from customers and from our salespeople when probably that's taken up time and they should be engaging elsewhere. So we've built some AI agents to answer those questions. Super fast, super quick, super knowledgeable, and therefore can escalate that to a pre-sales guy if needed. So that's one thing. Other areas of the business that are going live as well is around how we're integrating Zoom CCaaS solutions, contact center as a service, into NetSuite, our ERP system, and then we can start to deal very quickly with customer inquiries like, where's my order, our most common inquiry that we get. And we can therefore, we're building that with AI engines to do that. And the list of the product projects we've got to work on now, are fantastic. The question is, in what order do we do them?
Yeah.
But it is small ones, Mark. And I think that's the key thing for us. I mean, I can't comment on other companies, but for us, it's not about this great, big, solve everything. We're picking in specific projects and then working on it. The thing we got wrong, and actually a good friend of mine said, when you talk about AI in its whole, it's like talking about electricity, right? It's this a great big whole thing. The thing that we got wrong is we said to the organisation at the beginning, this is our direction of travel. This is what we're doing as a strategy. Now come and tell us areas of your business that you think that you could improve with us deploying AI technology into it. And the responses were very few from the business. Even though we've got a good trusting culture, the responses were very few, and it's for 2 reasons. First reason was people really didn't understand what AI could do because of this great big holistic thought process around AI. Yeah. And the second thing was a natural fear of jobs as well. People thinking that their jobs would be at risk if we look to deploy AI technology. And of course, that's not the case. What we're looking to do is make people more productive.
Do you think there is a real fear of people not wanting to adopt AI because they're thinking, actually, this is going to replace me?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. And I think that that's part of the education that we have to do, right? We have to show people that the reason we are wanting to introduce these things is because we want people to be more productive, right? If I can automate and give a fabulous customer experience of where's my order and when's it going to arrive in ETAs and this sort of thing, all of those things we should be able to automate really simply with AI. And therefore I can make the people that were doing it 30 or 40% more productive in other areas, then that's a great gain.
Joel, how much further do you think there is to go in terms of AI, i.e. your customers are adopting AI, you mentioned about that AI agent. How much more do you think there be done?
Mark, we're 10% in, right? We're 5.
You literally think we're 10%?
We're 5 or 10% in. I see AI in 2 ways. One is around product features from our vendor partners, who are using AI to make things better. So if it's in converged communications or in collaboration, it's better video quality and more equitable experience for remote users, or it's better audio quality. There's AI being used for features. But then there's about using AI to drive productivity. And that's where, as an industry, we're all looking to see how we can monetize that moving forward. And we're quite excited about that because as part of our services business, in the next couple of months, we're going to be releasing some services for our partners for them to be able to resell on how to monetize AI with end users.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do we actually make money out of AI? Everyone's talking about it. No one's making any money out of it. So it's like,
We believe we can help our partners do that. And by
really?
I do, yeah, I really do. And simply by, whatever metaphor you want to choose, eating our own dog food, drinking our own champagne, whatever it may be, we're learning ourselves as an organisation, so we can really turn that into a service that our partners can then sell.
One of the things I'm interested in about is, and I haven't put it on my little list to ask you, but I'm really interested around data insights. How much data insights does a distributor give to their partners? Because you mentioned there about AI and you're learning on the job yourself, but do you actually give data insights from vendors or other partners to your partners?
Yeah, we do, absolutely. But I think we work with organisations, so whether that's the Cavell Group as an example or Blue Touch Paper, just to name but two. These are companies that are fantastic at gathering data insights, and we contribute to that. We provide data into that, but those guys really act as the aggregators. Now we will then work with those guys with sharing the information with the channel. So on the 20th of May we have our annual Tech Talks partner event, and as part of that, Cavell Group present and share the latest stats that's going on in the UC and converged communications market, and people find that really valuable. The one thing I would say is about any sort of data insights is that you've got to make sure that it's relevant to the audience, though, right? So when we start talking about global UC numbers of 650 billion or whatever it may be at the minute, what does that mean to a partner who's based out of Manchester and services the SMB end user community there? So we've got to make sure these data insights that we're sharing, while they're good credibility statements and give us good direction of travel of what's happening, is how can we make them really relevant for our partner base.
Joel, you were up for Distributor of the Year 2024 this year at the Channel Awards, or last year actually.
Yeah.
How do you think achievements like that in the channel help? Is that something you want to continue doing forward and you think it's a good thing to get these awards, or do you just think it's a nice night out for the team? If you win.
No, I think things are really important, right? The industry is especially now, right? It's been a tough place in certain pockets of the industry, certainly over the last 12 to 18 months. I don't think these things are egotistical in any way. I don't think they're arrogant in any way. I think that gives the ability for people to celebrate success. And we shouldn't be ashamed to do that, right? We should not be ashamed to do that. So I think anywhere that's rewarding success is fantastic. I particularly like the awards that reward individuals for their contributions as well, because I do think that's the kind of the place we should be celebrating success as well. So in answer to your question, these things, long may they continue. I think they're very important. I think that you have to evolve and recognise different parts, as we've seen recently with diversity, equity and inclusion awards, which is super important to recognise. So it's important that we evolve to recognise where we want the industry to go to.
So CEO, you've been a couple of years in now.
Yeah.
Looking ahead, what's the big plan for Nuvias UC over the next few years? Because you're going to be in charge, and you're going to be, if it goes wrong, Joel, your head's going to be on the block.
But if it goes right,
Yeah.
if it goes right, the team are responsible for that, right? So that's the role of a CEO. For our business, Marc, we're very focused in the converged communications market, right? And that for us is the merger of what we see around telephony, video conferencing, UCaaS and CCaaS coming together. That presents such a huge opportunity, right, for the channel and for our vendor partners as well, because not everybody has knowledge in all of those areas. But as that market converges, there needs to be someone who can really help that space and help the partner community. And we really believe that's us. Our knowledge and capability in that space is second to none. Just as a credibility statement, if you look at what we announced last week about us being the first distributor globally for Zoom to be fully accredited to deliver services for and on behalf of Zoom. That's a real testament to the Nuvias UC technical capability there as well. So, in answer to your question around the next 3 to 5 years, our business will be there to help our channel evolve in the converged communications area in each of those 4 segments that I said. I see us selectively expanding our services capability, and our services capability is there to extend the capacity and the capability of the partner community as well, and how to help the partners get to revenue quickly. So I see us investing more and more in our services capability and more in our software plays as well. We partner very strongly with Zoom. We have a deep relationship with Zoom. We're their largest distributor in Europe, I'm proud to say. And we see us just getting deeper and deeper with the investments that we make with Zoom as well.
What about for you personally, Joel? Because you had that life moment when you said, where was the next opportunity? What am I going to do? You got the gig. You got the top job. What's next? I'm not trying to headhunt you out, by the way, but I'm thinking for you, in your head, where is the next opportunity? Would you look at another CEO job in the future? Do you see yourself continuing down this path? Because I know it's the first one you've done. So where's the plan for you now? Now you've got the job.
Yeah, I've got a lot to do at Nuvias UC first of all, right? So I'm looking forward to the next couple of years, in this role. And after that, Mark, I think the opportunities I hope will present themselves, right? I think another chief exec role in the future, absolutely. I think there's some things maybe outside of the industry that could be appealing for me as well.
Like what?
I think doing some work around some PR work and some marketing work in some agencies around that I think is quite appealing. The thing that I would like to do, and this comes with will come over time, certainly as my young children get older as well, is to create space to do some other things though as well, right? And right now, I'm not embarrassed or ashamed or concerned about it, but life is very busy. With Nuvias UC, we've got lots to do, as we said, and also quite a busy family life with two children as well. So
what could that be, Joel? What would, obviously concentrating on Nuvias UC at the moment, CEO, you're flat out, you got your family. If someone said to you, right, you could do something outside, what would it be?
Working with people, Mark, is the thing that I really, really enjoy doing. I'm very fortunate, and I mean this, and very humble to have worked with a number of people who have then gone on to do great things afterwards, who have worked for me before and with me before. And I really, really enjoy that aspect of it, right? I really enjoy working with people, seeing talent, helping that talent develop and seeing that talent go on. And I'd like to do something like that more in the future as well, without a doubt. I enjoy mentoring, I do that already. But helping people develop into the things they want to be, I think is really important.
Last question, Joel.
Yes.
Final predictions time, and I don't want you to say your favourite partner or the Rigby Group or Nuvias UC. I want you to sort of give me an honest view. Could be a competitor, could be a partner, could be another distributor, could be a vendor. Who, in your opinion, is the one to watch in 2025? Who's going to do good things?
I hope this isn't too predictable, because you might have already qualified it out with your don't say. Certainly one is Zoom. Okay, so I think Zoom's shift in their business around becoming more channel orientated, and with the recruitment and the people they've put in place inside Zoom, that's now only going to continue strongly. The rate of development that goes into Zoom's platform is phenomenal, Mark. I mean, it's incredible, and the solutions that they offer is fantastic. So I think with under leadership of Steve Rafferty in Europe, they've made some great hires. The business will continue to grow. So I think Zoom are a strong one to watch.
Great. Joel, you've been a great guest. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for your time, Mark. Thank you.